Who is ready to dive into the hive tonight? Welcome to another edition of Buzz TV. And I tell you what, Ray Civitts, who is the host of our program, he's going to be sharing two critical skills that every beekeeper needs to master. That, of course, doing hive inspections and hive splits. So whether you're new to bees or you're running a full apiary, I firmly believe you're going to come away with some extremely practical tips tonight to help you in those areas. And here is the sweet deal. Listen to this. Just for asking a question, just for asking your beekeeping question, you're going to be automatically entered for a chance to win a free package of Italian honeybees. Plus, you get your question answered, hopefully. We're going to get to as many of those as we can tonight. I'm Brian Race, your co-host for Buzz TV, and we are coming to you live from the Mountain Sweet Honey Studios. Our show Buzz TV brought to you, I was almost going to say each and every week, but we're about every 2 months.
Well, we were on a hiatus with bee season. And folks, this was the hardest bee season we've ever had.
What does that mean, the hardest bee season? What describe that?
What it is, Brian, is if there's a 1 week delay, that's pretty hard. When we have 15 to 20,000 customers and you have to move a date, you move every date. So it affects 15 to 20,000 customers. And then if it's 2 weeks, now you've been pushed into somebody's vacation time and they need to switch dates. And then as everybody started this year, a 3 week delay. And those 3 week delays, holy cow. Aubrey, who does our order management, she was in tears at times because of so many change orders and all. And that's what makes it tough. It makes it really tough being in the bee business and being subjective to Mother Nature. And
can't control that.
And, we're at her disposal, not vice versa on that. So,
but we made it. Most everybody is happy.
Yes.
And we are happy. Yes. And we're just glad to be back now to have some time freed up to bring you Buzz TV.
And folks, we're going to be back now through the summer, into fall, winter, and early spring with more of Buzz TV. So thank you for hanging in there with us. But we're back, and we're back on a good note here. Brian, is Nikki in the studio?
Nikki, for some reason, could not make it tonight, but she did offer a little video. So,
well, let me just say, Brian, she's got a son that's graduating from high school, and that trumps anything that we've got going on here. And so I told her, go and enjoy your son, take some extra days off. I'm sure when we get back in the studio, Brian, that with Nikki will just look robust, and not that she's been working 100 hours a week or anything like that. So
also the truth comes out. You've been working her to the bone, and
we all have been worked to the bone. I think 4 days out of the week, I'm in at 3-4 o'clock in the morning, and just to get everything going for our bees going out. So that's what I mean by a tough season is not only the delay, but just the long hours that were there.
Well, whenever you want to see that video from Nikki, you just call for it. I've got it ready, and we can watch it. And we're thankful for you watching tonight. We encourage you to give us a little bit of love, click all those buttons that subscribe to the channel, hit the little hearts there in the bottom right-hand corner, depending on what platform you're on. The main reason is we just need affirmation. We need a hug, but we can't get a hug from you tonight. So show us a little love. It really does help more people discover Buzz TV, and we just think it's great to be able to grow the community in that way.
Brian, we have a lot of new beekeepers that come to us every year to get started out, and seasoned beekeepers that have been in the hobby for 5, 10, 15, 20 years. And some simple questions are always asked, whether you're the most veteran of beekeepers or the newest guy on the block. So we want to start out tonight with just a proper hive inspection. And a hive inspection should really not take any more than 10 to 15 minutes if you do a full inspection of the hive. And what I want to do is I want to step everybody through what a hive inspection would look like and what would we do from the moment that we walk into the bee yard or the apiary. So let's just say we're walking in to the apiary. And the first thing I'm going to be looking at is the entryway of each of the hives. And I'm not going to be very close to it. I'm going to be about 15 feet away. Now, you're going to find that there's a bump of the guard bees are going to be right around the 15-foot mark, 10 to 15-foot mark. And what they'll do is they'll bump you with their heads. And it might be in the chest or on your veil. They're just saying, hey, move back, please. And so 15 feet is what I've mostly done when I'm doing a walkthrough on the bee yard. And what I'm doing is I'm walking through and occasionally feeling a bump of a bee here and there, warning me to step back. And I'm looking for the activity in the front of each hive. Is it robust with bees coming in and out? Or is it just nothing there, or maybe a couple of guard bees and that's it? Those are telltales that tell us almost immediately which hives we need to look at first and second. And if I see bees on the outside, what we call bearding, which is all over the front and it looks like a beard on the front of the hive, that is because they're out there cooling, much like our ancestors did before air conditioning was brought into most households. They went out on the porch, and that's simply what they're doing on the hive itself, is going out, fanning themselves, or just cooling off. So there's a lot of traffic. I'm not going to be very worried about that hive. If there's not, the hive is struggling to some degree. I'm also going to pick up on one point here too, is pollen. Do you see pollen coming into the hive? An old beekeeper once told me, he says, Ray, if you don't see pollen coming into the hive, that means there's queen issues. And I really scratched my head on that, but boy, was that ever true. And I saw that as the number one calling card for me to take a look at that particular hive. Pollen coming into the hive equates to a viable queen within that hive. If not, the queen is either missing or most likely dead. So that's a telltale right there. Now, the second thing I'm going to be looking at is guard bees. Are there guard bees? And if there's no guard bees, that equates to robbing of the hive. And robbing of the hive, there will be a lot of traffic going in and out, but the big thing is there's no one there protecting the entryway into the hive. So guard bees are also a very, very important thing. So as you can see already, my eyes have already told me where I need to go and not go within the bee yard itself. You'll have to excuse me. We're still in pollen season down here, and occasionally you might see me scratching my face or rubbing my nose. So bear with me. All right. The next thing I'm going to be looking at before I even get into the hive is looking for dead bees, whether they be on the landing board or the bottom board of the hive. If there's quite a few dead ones, that is a big telltale that there is issues within that hive too, and most likely it's a dead out. If the worker bees are moving the dead bees out and throwing them off the front of the landing board, then that tells me it's just a cleanup activity. And I will look at the ground also and see if there's a pile of bees in front of it. And if there is, most likely there has been some kind of an issue within the hive at that point. So as I am getting close to the hive, to the rear of the hive, I'm looking for roaches, ants, moths, anything that can tell me a telltale. What am I going to see when I take the outer cover off of the hive itself? These insects tell me I have a weak hive. So if you see roaches, ants, or moths, that's going to be a telltale that something is going downhill or it's in bad shape as a hive there. And also, I want to see if the hive cover is on correctly or if it's ajar. We've had some strong winds here over the last 2 weeks, and it's real easy to have those hive covers ajarred where they might be letting air in directly where other bugs and stuff can come in. So making sure that all the hive covers are on correct is essential there too. All right, so the next thing that I'm going to do when I'm into the hive is I'm going to be looking, I'm going to remove the outer cover. And what I'm looking for is how many bees are on top of the inner cover once I take that outer cover off. The inner cover, if it's just plastered with bees from right to left, from front to bottom, from front to back and from side to side full of bees, then that tells me this hive is very robust, and I might have to consider adding another honey super to that particular hive. So if there's a lot, I don't really need to spend a whole lot of time with that hive, but we're going to just continue to do this dive of what we do next year. So if there's little to no bees on the outer cover, on the inner cover, it tells me the hive is weak. I also want to make sure the vent is in the open position during the summer and fall. They need to allow that heat to go out from the hive during those months. A closed position would be during the winter and the spring. I want to also look for small hive beetles when I take off the outer cover and look in there, and then the inner cover, taking that off. I'm going to be looking for small hive beetles, ants, and roaches. This is a signal to me as a beekeeper that the hive is under duress. So I have to keep that in mind when I see other bugs that are within the hive that shouldn't be there. So then I will remove the inner cover, and I'm looking to see the temperament of the hive when I take the inner cover. One of the first signs that will tell you that you're queenless to some degree within the hive, maybe the queen has used up all of her eggs and she's over and done, or there has been some event that has happened within the hive that it is queenless. And what you will find is the bees will fly right up into your veil and bounce off and really just grab onto your veil during this time. And I'm not just talking a few, I'm talking dozens right in your face. And this is a very, very quick way of knowing, one, either you're queenless or you have a very agitated colony of bees. And of course, if you're trying to do an inspection when it's windy or there's storms in the area, they will fly up in your veil there too. So those two kind of go hand in hand. But I'm assuming that we're out doing an inspection on a cloud-free day with no wind. So one of the things that I'm going to do now that I have the inner cover off is I want to take a quick look at the honey supers. Now, when I have a 10-frame hive, if 8 of those frames are full of bees, then I'm going to go on ahead and add another super on top of it. You have to give space to your bees. Otherwise, they're going to start having queen cells and you're going to have a swarm in the very near future. So it's very, very important to stay under the 80% of the frames being full of bees, because most likely if those frames are full of bees, they've already went ahead and put nectar in there and are working to seal those frames up for honey. So if you're going on a 2-week vacation during the nectar flow, you definitely want to put on another super during this time, because again, what will happen is the swarming will happen at that point, And then you come back and you only have 1/3 of your bees in there, and you wonder what happened while I was gone on vacation. So definitely give your bees room. Now, here in the Southeast, just kind of a little breakaway here, we're almost to the end of our nectar season. We got about 15, maybe 15 days, maybe 21 days, and then that's it for us here in the Southeast. I just do not see this being a robust honey season for anyone here in the Southeast due to a lot of rain coming through and washing the nectar out. For those that don't know, dry, heated days are the best when it comes to nectar being brought into the hive. Those will be very robust years when you have those dry heat days without any washout of the nectar within the flowers and blooms. All right, let's get back to the next steps to see if you have a viable queen. I really do not look for the queen ever when I'm into a hive. And I know many of you like to do that, and there's not really an issue with that. But if you're trying to inspect 3, 4, 5, or even 100 hives, you can't use that time to hunt down your queens. So here's what I do: is first of all, I'm looking for brood. I'm really looking for brood, and when I find the brood, into the deep that I have is looking to spot eggs in the cells. If I see eggs in the cells, it tells me the queen is viable because she's just laid those eggs within the last 3 days. And at that point, I'm looking to see how many frames of brood are out there. And if I got 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 frames of brood, and maybe even the next super up is full, I'm going to close that hive up and say, queen, keep doing what you're doing, and I'm going to go to the next hive to inspect. But seeing consistent egg laying tells me that she's also very viable. So you don't see empty cells and then some eggs and some other cells. It's all very, very uniform. And that is one of the telltale signs, if you don't see that uniform egg laying, that your queen is beginning to fail. And at that point, you really need to be looking to see if the colony has begun to make another queen cell for the replacement, or multiple queen cells.
Ray, the question that
Yes.
I've just put up on the screen here, this might be the perfect time to introduce it. How can we tell the difference between a queen laying spotty brood or if it's just bees emerging?
Okay. Normally there's the bullseye, and that bullseye is typically about something like this, or it might be frame to frame, Brian. And I'm sorry, who put that question back on up? Okay, Banjir. So what we've got here is the bullseye is going to be your capped brood, and your capped brood is going to emerge, and they're going to be emptying out those cells. But then you also see further out that there's larvae. And then outside of that, you're going to have your eggs going around. Now, if you start seeing various empties all around, depending on what part of the brood is on that particular frame, then yeah, that spottiness tells you that your queen might be running out of eggs, or she's a damaged queen, one or the other on that.
Certainly. Thank you for that question. As you can see from the little chyron at the bottom of the screen, you're automatically entered into a drawing that we will have at the end of tonight's live stream to give away a free package of Italian honeybees just for asking your beekeeping question. We're going to try to get to as many of those as possible. So in the chat section right there on YouTube or Facebook, type in your question, and we appreciate you being with us. Back to Ray.
All right. So now I'm on the home stretch. I've seen the eggs. I'm ready to close it up, and I do, and I'm off to my next hive. Those are the very, very simple steps, folks, that you can use in getting through a quick look at your hive without having to go a deep dive in. We have to remember it's kind of like a hurricane or a tornado comes to us and rips off our roof, and we're all looking up, and we're kind of damaged individuals, Brian, at that point. And that's the same thing that happens with our beehives. So you don't want to get into it every day. Maybe once every 10 days is perfect. I wouldn't go any more than 2 weeks, especially this time of the year. All right. Now, Brian, do we have more questions?
We have tons of questions. I've been doing my best to try to stay on topic. I'm not sure that I am doing a very good job of that. So let me just go back up
Nikki,
here.
Knocking on my computer here saying that she's ready to do her video.
Oh, we can do that real quick.
But no. Nikki, just wait a minute.
Just wait. Just be patient.
Yeah.
Be patient. Yeah. All right. Let's see here. This question comes from Marcia. None of my packages had a queen out of the cage within 3 days. Now, I always try to help them a bit, and I know you teach this, Ray, that you sort of help pop that cork out for easier access to the candy, but what might be some reasons that the queens have not been released?
Yeah, this one's a real easy one, Marcia. The candy part could potentially be not enough water added, and it becomes like a brick in there. And that's why the bees can't eat through that. And that's the reason why you have to release on the other side of the queen cage so the queen can come out. It's really tricky because that candy is very pliable when it gets in there, but also with the heat of the bee package itself keeps it and dries it though. It dries that moisture out because they're running about 92 degrees. The bees are inside the package. So that's what happens to the candy part. And we would hope that doesn't happen much, but it sounds like it happened quite a bit for you. And we apologize for that.
And Marcia, thank you for your question. Jim asks, he says, I've got a split in a 5-frame box, and I know you're going to be getting to splits here momentarily. The queen is really slow. Is that cause for concern? Should I replace her? And it was April 1st when he did his split.
Okay. Jim, what I would say on this is yes, if there are cells available that the bees have drawn out and they're just sitting there empty and now they're starting to put in nectar, yes, you should look at replacing that queen.
James has a question. Let me throw it up. He's wondering if a package of bees will kill their queen during a heavy flow. Have you ever heard of that being an issue?
I haven't, James. I just don't know of when a package of bees would kill their queen. Now, occasionally, because you use the word package of bees kill their queen, but then you also say during a heavy flow, a package of bees can kill the queen within the inside of the queen box because a breeder queen was accidentally shook into the package of bees. So that is her original colony that is in that package. And then we've inserted the new queen in there. And so the bees go through and sting that new queen. And folks, one of the hardest things with packaging bees is you have a team of five guys or gals that are out there, and they've got to produce roughly 200 to 300 packages in a given morning. And you have 5, 6, 7 teams out there, and you get into some hives and the bees might be this thick on the frame, a good 1 inch to 2 inches. Well, that means that the queen could possibly be all the way to the bottom and you can't see it. They don't have the time to go through and really inspect that. And what happens is they say, well, we're going to shake it and hope that the queen isn't in there. Well, that's an expensive proposition because a breeder queen is worth $100. So anyhow, that is a potential, I think, of what your question is on that there.
Next question comes from Paul Young. How soon after a new queen hatches do you wait before checking for eggs?
Okay. So when you have a virgin queen, she's going to emerge, and roughly 3 to 5 days later, she'll fly out for her first mating flight. She will do 3 to 5 mating flights and mate with drones. And then there will be a period of about a week, and then she will begin to lay eggs. And so that's the timeline that happens there. So you're looking at, let's see, about 12 days after she emerges, you'll be able to start seeing eggs, and she's still going to be very, very small as a queen when she begins to lay eggs. And while we're talking about sizes of queens, some of my best queens that I've ever had out on my farm are very small queens. A lot of people think they need these really large, enormous queens, but some of these small queens are a lot more egg layers than what the larger queens are.
Did not know that. You got time for one more?
Yeah, let's go one more.
All right, Mike, he says, on April 21st, I installed a package. When do I stop the 1-to-1 sugar water feeding?
Mike, one of the things I would say right off is you want to feed a minimum of 6 weeks. And Mike, I don't know where you are residing, but I would keep the sugar water on throughout the summer. And when they reject it, that's fine. I would still leave it on there. And I'm going to feed, since this is a new package of bees, I'm going to feed all the way through to next spring. And that way they can produce the wax from their wax glands and be able to comb out all the frames that are in the hive itself and begin putting up stores.
Thank you, Mike. Keep those questions coming in. We'll do the drawing for a free package of bees, as is our custom around here. If we remember, there was one show where I forgot, but I've made a note. We'll remember to give that away. And the way to enter, simple, ask your beekeeping question. And we're going to get to another round of those coming up shortly here on Buzz TV.
Hey, why don't we go to Nikki?
All right.
Nikki, are you out?
This is a drone bee. A drone bee is produced from unfertilized eggs. He's the only male within the colony and the largest bee you'll see. Unlike the female, a drone has no stinger. He doesn't gather nectar or pollen or contribute to the hive. His main function is to mate with the queen. While it's normal to see drones within your hive, an abundance can mean bad news for your colony. Depending on how soon you catch it, you may need to requeen your colony or shake her out and add those bees to a healthier hive.
Hey guys, it's Nikki over here at Mountain Sweet Honey Company, and I'm really sorry that I can't be on the live with you today. I know we talked about it, but 2025 has been a whirlwind, and we're just trying to get everything wrapped up and get ready for our 2026 kickoff that we're going to be doing next month. So I'm really excited about that. You end one season and jump right into the next. But anyways, I wanted to get on here and just tell you some exciting news that we are going to do a mini series that's going to be within Buzz TV, and this is hopefully going to start for us next month. It's going to be women in beekeeping. So it's going to be all about fun facts like what we just talked about with the drones, but it's also going to be spotlighting our queen bees, our women within the beekeeping industry. We'll talk about products that I use, maybe new products that we find, things that we find are very helpful. Any questions that you might have, I'd love to answer those for you. If you're a woman that's in beekeeping currently and you just want a different perspective, or maybe you are looking at getting into beekeeping for the first time, and as a female, maybe you're just not sure what's the best option for you or where to start, where to look, what to do. I would really love to be able to kind of be that resource for you. So if you have questions or you have information that you would love to see us put in this segment, if you would email that over to me, you can send that to Nikki, spelled Nikki at mountainsweethoney.com. I really look forward to see what you guys come up with, and I know this is going to be a success, and I hope to see you guys next month. So bye.
For that, I am definitely excited, Ray, about this Women in Beekeeping series that she's going to be kicking off. So make sure that you send her an email with any topics that you would like for her to cover. Give her a little love tonight with some of those likes and hearts and things in the video. I know she likes to go back and read everybody's questions because it's just good customer service to know what people are thinking.
So, Brian, you not only need the love, Nikki needs love too.
We all need love.
Okay.
And somebody, you didn't see it earlier, but somebody did send in a hug
All
for
right.
us. So
All right. Well,
it was from a
good.
dude, so I wasn't, happy about that.
Well, maybe that's for
but
Nikki.
but still, it was nice. So we appreciate you guys very much.
Nikki will be the first on doing women in beekeeping on a consistent basis.
Okay.
And she's really working hard on that side to develop content. And I look forward to seeing what she brings to our show in the months to come. All right, so let's go to the second part here. Brian, did we have any other questions that you wanted to put up?
Not at this time. I'm
Okay.
going to go back through those and get you another round in a minute.
Okay. So one of the things that I try to do as a beekeeper is to beat the swarm. You want to have those bees where they're robust, but not robust enough to where they want to swarm. And how I do that is doing a split. Let's talk a little bit about what a split is. A split is we go into a colony and take out some frames with brood, and it can be all cap brood. It can be an assortment of cap brood, larvae, and eggs. But I'm going to take out so many of those frames, and I'm going to put it into a nuke box or another hive. And then I might go to another hive that's very strong and take some frames of brood out of those. So if I had 4 robust hives, I could probably make two splits off those and go in really strong. And what I mean by that is if we had a 10 frame hive, I could go in there and with 7 frames of brood and put in a new queen and then put in some extra frames for them to draw out, and then put my outer hive cover on and walk away. Now, when I do that, I got to feed. But let's kind of start back at the basics here. I'm going to be having to look for hives in my apiary that are robust. I mean, lots of bees. When you take that outer cover off, you see a lot of bees on your inner cover. You see a lot of bees going in and out of the hive. Those are telltales you got a very, very strong hive. So those are ones that might have 10 or more frames of brood. And us going in, us going in to get 3 frames of brood will not be missed within that hive. And that's why I use a nuke box rather than a hive body, so that I can have 3 frames of brood and a new queen, and also 1 frame of capped honey. And I'm going to put that in there. And then the last one is an empty frame, and I'm going to put that right in the middle of that 5 frame nuke box. Now you can do the same thing with a regular hive body, whether it be an 8 frame or a 10 frame. You gotta go this time of the year. You have to go with a lot of brood in there with a queen. You just can't go short and just put two frames of brood this late in the season and expect them to survive going into the winter months. So this time of the year, we got to be really strong with our brood going in. The nuke box keeps the bees focused, where they're really closed environment, and it makes them focus on drawing out comb for that queen to come in and start laying there. So nuke box does a lot of good things on keeping them focused. A hive body gives them a little bit more room. And if you do a hive body, you got to at least start with 5 frames of brood. If you have a 10 frame or an 8 frame, you could go with 4 frames of brood. The most critical thing that we hear continuously at our office is that somebody ordered a queen elsewhere and for some reason didn't ship, and thus they're coming to buy their queen from us. Now, we do have to remember this season, I've never seen this happen as much as it did, but UPS and FedEx both had disclaimers that due to bad weather in Kentucky and over in Memphis, that it was delaying orders going through. So next day air might have been 2-day air getting the queens in. So do not do your splits prior to, because what will happen is if you don't have a queen in there, the worker bees that are on those frames will fly back to the original hive. Now, when that happens, that means the warmth factor that the brood needs to stay warm during this time will not have it. So you'll lose your brood as well. So you got to just know where you're going to pull your frames from, and you got to know that you have a queen in your hand. Never try to do this without a queen in your hand. Now, the next thing that I do is I get my smoker and I get it really going good. And those frames that I'm pulling out of the original hive, I got to erase the queen pheromone. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to really, really smoke those frames with the bees that are on them. And that will erase the queen pheromone from the original hive. Now they're going into the nuke or the new the new hive, and they'll accept the new queen. And you don't have to put the paper and all that fun stuff. Just use a lot of smoke, and I'm saying smoke them for about a minute. Really a good puff of smoke going on them continuously there, and that will erase the queen pheromone. All right. So the next thing you're going to do is you're going to insert the queen in her cage. Do not let the queen out of her cage immediately. There's a good chance that the queen will be attacked and stung to death. So you want to leave the queen in the cage. And if the queen does not emerge on the third day, please go to the other side of the candy, pull that cork, and that will release her immediately. And one of the important things that we have to remember as beekeepers, when we do a split, there's limited stores of food for the bees. So we got to feed those bees continuously 24/7. Without that, they're going to swarm or they're going to collapse. So it's just super, super important that we're feeding 24/7 on these new hives. Okay, so some people also prefer to seal the entrance for 24 hours to contain the worker bees from flying back to the original hive and to accept the new queen. That is a viable way. I've seen it done that way and not doing it. And it seems pretty much that either way you're going to be okay on that. All right. If you try to split your hives going into June and July and beyond, you're really going to put a high stress factor on your bees. And the splitting time is almost over. Here in the Southeast, the magic deadline is May the 1st, as nectar sources become limited by the middle of June. And depending on where you are here in the Southeast, you may even begin to extract your honey as early as the second week of June. But by far, the nectar is over and done with by the third week of June, unless you're up in the upper mountain regions doing specialty honeys like sourwood. Sourwood would be a real good one there for here in the Southeast. And those will go through the end of July on that there. Okay, so if you're in the Northeast, you're good to do splits up to June the 1st. In the upper Midwest, it's good until June the 10th. The Rocky Mountain region, June the 15th. And the Southwest region is May the 1st. So that's the deadlines that I found have worked and worked successfully. Obviously, there's some anomalies that can happen during those times, but generally speaking, year over year, that's what you're going to see on wrapping up your splits for the season.
I can't find the question immediately, but I know someone from Virginia was asking that question about splits. And so what again would be the date, the last date that you would do a split in Virginia?
Depending if they are in the Shenandoah Mountains, because they're in higher elevations, which means the blooms are going to go a little longer up there. I would say, no later than the first week of June.
Okay.
In Virginia, there in the Shenandoah
It was funny how many of the questions you actually answered without knowing what the questions
well,
were.
good.
So I feel like you're hitting people right where they live tonight with specific answers for specific questions.
Well, Brian, that's all we got tonight. Unless
no, it's not all we got. We got
all right.
All right. It's time to put Ray on the hot seat, folks,
Okay,
and
here we go.
See if we can stump Ray, stump the chump time here at Buzz TV. All right, this question's from Mark. He said, I made a split, and before I could put a new queen in, they made a dozen queen cells over 3 days. I destroyed the queen cells and put the queen cage in. How long should I leave her in the cage?
Okay, 3 days. 3 days is the magic number on that. And here's the reason why is the queen cells have not created a pheromone, because the pheromone will not happen until the queen is mated. So 3 days is the magic number.
We have so many questions, Ray. I'm not going to try to keep everything on topic, so we're going to do a little rapid fire here. Zachary wants to know about the best plants to put around beehives.
Oh, boy.
Are we opening a can of worms?
Yeah,
here?
because what's good in one region won't grow in another. Let me just say buckwheat is a really good nectar source. It's very, very black kind of honey, but it's really good. I'm thinking of privet here in the Southeast. Privet is a huge nectar source for bees here in the Southeast. And tulip poplar is another one here in the Southeast that has a lot of nectar to that. It is, you really have to drum down to your location for me to really help you with what would be best in your area, Zachary.
Okay, next question from Jan. What does it mean when you see backfilling on a frame? I'm not even familiar with that term, backfilling. Does that resonate at all with you, or do we need to go to the next question?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
So, Jan, if you're still watching, give us a few more details in that question so that we can make sure to get the answer that you're looking for. Tina Thomas, I've got a 10-frame brood box with a combination of wax frames and foundationless frames, but the bees don't seem to like those frames. Should I give it more time or replace with a full box of 10 wax frames?
All right, Tina, one thing I will tell you is foundationless frames, the bees use a lot of energy to comb those out. I did that when I first got started into beekeeping because it was an artisan type of way that I was doing beekeeping. And the thing that I found was when I was using the wax frames, it was 3 to 1. They could do 3 wax frames for the time it took to do 1 foundationless frame. So, they will shy away on that unless everything is foundationless within the hive, and then they'll begin their work. But it is so difficult. That's why I moved over to wax frames and wax foundation. I guess about eight years ago or so, and have not looked back. So,
and is that a popular product there at Mountain Sweet Honey? Yes. The wax foundation.
Yes.
And let me just throw this out real quick before we go to the next question. Maybe a lot of people are in need of beekeeping supplies. What does Mountain Sweet Honey offer that might be advantageous to somebody who's thinking, man, I'm loving this hobby, but I need some better supplies to do this proficiently? What would you say?
Well, Brian, I'm glad you brought that up. Starting tomorrow morning, when our email goes out and look on Facebook, we'll have a coupon code. And that coupon code will give you 18% off almost everything that we sell. And on most things, if you buy $150 or more, then you get free shipping. There are a few items that we have such thin margins on, we can't offer a free shipping on, and you will see those. But generally speaking, 18% off everything that we carry. And it's just our thank you for working with us through this season.
Our next question comes from Dale, who was actually waiting on us tonight. So when I signed in to the software, Dale was already in the queue asking some questions, and he wants to know, once the honey is capped, is it safe to harvest, or is there a waiting period?
Okay, Dale, as soon as it's capped, go on ahead and extract it. I know a lot of women and elderly beekeepers will go through their hives and pull those frames that are already kept, and they start that as early as May 1st. And they'll just go through the hive, and when they pull one, they put another one in that they've already extracted from. So it's already been combed out. And when it's combed out, that means all they ought to do, the bees, is put the nectar in and render it to honey. So yes, when it's capped, go wide open, get it extracted.
Dana, who is a friend of the show,
Oh,
says,
I know Dana.
Yeah, when you split, how does it affect the honey production?
Okay. Very good question, Dana. And you know where she's from?
I do not.
She's up in North Carolina, and she bought a bunch of hives from us during our promotion that we did during Black Friday, Cyber Monday.
That's why the name is so familiar to me.
And they weren't hit like the other folks there in the vicinity of them.
Well, you and I went up to North Carolina
Yeah.
to deliver some hives.
And we heard some crazy stories.
We hear crazy stories everywhere we go.
Yeah.
Remember the man who was riding out the hurricane?
Yeah. On a surfboard.
Yeah. God bless you, sir. But it was a great story, and we love to be entertained.
All right. We got way off on the rabbit trail here.
Back to Dana.
All right. So Dana, yes, it will definitely affect your honey production, because more bees equals more nectar coming into the hive, and more nectar coming into the hive means more honey. So yes, if you're going to do a split, you can pretty much write that hive off on doing a split. If you do a major split. Now, if you only take 2 frames out on a robust hive, no, you're not going to see any drop in your honey production.
I think Joseph might actually be making a confession in this question. What will happen if you accidentally transfer a queen in the split and you leave the original hive queenless?
All right. The confessional is now open.
Father Ray,
right.
Please forgive me.
All right. What will happen if you accidentally transfer a queen in the split and leave the original hive queenless? So I take it that there's going to be 2 queens in this new split. And what it's going to be is 1 queen against the other, and the best queen wins. You will have to either find those 2 queens quickly and separate them and bring one back to the other hive. And if you don't know which one it is, then you got to smoke that original hive really heavy and get that queen into a queen cage, or a queen clip would work too. And then you're back to where you should be.
This question really caught my attention from Kelly. Are you guys seeing a rise in beekeeping, considering all of the environmental changes that are happening? Particularly, is there a rise in younger beekeepers? And are you seeing a rise in availability and accessibility in educational programs for rural beekeepers? A lot of questions there, but this gets to the heart of what we're passionate about.
Well, Kelly, I could take a whole show on this. I think with where the economy is, we haven't finished up our numbers yet for the season, but it's a good barometer of where we are nationally. But I believe our numbers are going to show that new beekeepers were on a decrease for the first time since before COVID. And the COVID years were very high in seeing new beekeepers coming on board. I'm getting an echo, Brian. Okay, so anyhow, we've seen a decrease there. There are lots of local educational programs that are out there for kids, and that's a great thing. If you contact your local beekeepers association, they will be able to point you, or at the state level. Every state has a beekeepers association. Contact them, ask them what's going on in your area or somewhere that you can commute to for a young beekeeper class. Now, the environmental changes are beyond crazy right now, Kelly. We're seeing many reports of large migratory beekeepers that lost 60, 70, 80, 90% of their bees. And these are folks, they have 10, 20,000 hives. They can't rebound with a loss of 70, 80, and 90%, because they'd be looking at doing splits, and you just can't do enough splits to get you safe and sound through the winter months. Now, if you're going to move your bees down to Florida during the winter months, then yeah, you might be able to get through it. But generally speaking, I think we're going to see a big decrease in the next 8 months. We should be hearing what the total numbers are on it, but I look to see it drop significantly. In Canada last year, they saw a significant decrease. Still don't know what it is, but I'm still hanging my hat that this is a Varroa new virus that it's putting out, and it's very decimating a lot of hives here in North America. So that's about all I could really say in a quick take on your question.
That was a great question.
Thanks,
Thank you, Kelly. We really do appreciate that. Jan back with another question. The bees apparently are putting pollen and nectar where she thinks the brood would be on the frame. And that's, I guess, causing some concern.
Okay. So what happens is the bees move down during the summer months because heat rises. And when that flips, where the winter months, the queen will move up to the upper frames, and then they'll start filling in down below. Or there is not enough room within the hive where the bees just don't have anywhere to put the nectar, and now they're putting the nectar in where the brood was. So I would highly recommend putting another super onto your hive to give them more space. Another way that you could do is take some of those places where they're laying, where the queen was laying brood, and now the nectar is in, and I'd move them up into the next super and maybe put some drawn out foundation back in there and see if you can equalize that and not have a complete honey hive and stun the growth of the colony.
Good. Thank you, Jan. Steve wants to know about something I am not familiar with. Have you ever heard of the DeMarie method of splitting a hive?
Steve, you got me.
All right, you stumped the chump.
Yep.
We got stumped.
Go hang me.
All right, we'll look that up. Maybe on the next show we'll
Yes.
have some new information. Now, we're not even to July 4th yet, and Chad already wants to know about keeping his bees alive up in Wisconsin. So it's not too early to think about these things, but it does blow my mind a little.
Well, Chad, I appreciate you asking that question, because I know your summers are short, especially if you're up in the northern part of the state. What we find is in these bitter cold regions where you're constantly seeing the negative degrees, whether it be negative 10 or 20 degrees or even 30 degrees below during the winter months, is establishing a shed or a barn where you can put those hives so that they're fully sheltered during the winter months. Yeah, it might get down to 30 or 30 degrees or so inside the barn, but the bees will definitely thrive when they get that kind of relief within a barn or a shed.
Very cool. Bob checking in. Hey, Bob, how are you? Do I need to worry about splitting a hive the first year on a package? He installed it this year, but he already sees the comb is being drawn out.
Okay. I'm going to answer this, and I'm going to tell a story. Bob, you do not want to split your hive. You want your first year hive to just be very, very robust with a lot of brood or a lot of worker bees. That is what you're shooting for and that you want going into your first winter. So stay still. Don't do what I'm going to tell you about a dentist that was doing business with us. And I say was, because you'll hear the story here. This dentist down around the Athens, Georgia area kept coming into our store and he was buying hives. I mean, 2-3 hives, Brian, a week and taking them home. And I knew he only bought 10 nukes from us. So what I pulled him off to the side and I said, look, we'll deliver this for you, because he had a whole truckload about 8 weeks after he bought his bees. And so I said, look, I'll bring them on down to you. And I got to see what you're doing. And what was he doing? As soon as they got it combed out, he was splitting them.
Oh.
And folks, he took 10 nukes and made 100 hives by the end of the summer. By the first freeze, he lost half of them. And then by the time winter, he was down to about 2 or 3 hives. A very, very tragic story, but it just goes to show you that you can't get aggressive on this. You got to let the bees have a rest period of time. And that's what happens during the winter months on that there.
And you may have just answered some of Dawn's question about the fastest way to make a hive strong. The answer is not making a ton of splits right away.
Well, one of the things that I always say, Dawn, is, first of all, feed your bees. Feed them 1-to-1 through your first year. All right. If they find nectar elsewhere, great. But at least they can make their wax glands work during the evening hours and through the night and begin to make more comb. The more comb that's available, the more the areas the queen has to lay. And you get a robust queen, she's really going to explode that hive from 10,000 to maybe 50 or 60,000 bees within there. And yes, those are possible. And boy, have we seen them here at Mountain Sweet Honey on the rapid development there.
Ray, why don't we talk a little bit about what's coming up on the 27th of June? We want people to pull their phones out right now, make a little note, set a reminder, because it's going to be a big day around here.
Yeah, if you haven't seen our opening day, boy, folks, put us on a split screen on your computer that day. It's Friday, June the 27th. We go live at 9 a.m. till roughly 2 p.m. that day. We're giving away bees every hour. And by the way, Brian, I am amazed at some of these larger companies, and I won't name them, that make $100 million worth of sales. They don't ever give bees away. They give a $25 gift card. A $25 gift card.
I'll take that, but I like free bees.
A $25 gift card.
I'll take a $25 gift card, but I prefer free bees.
Yeah. And free bees doesn't mean you have to pay $145.
That's a better deal than a $25 gift card.
Yeah. And you know how many bees packages we gave away?
I'm going to guess 30.
75.
Wow.
75 hives of bees.
From Buzz TV and various promotions.
Buzz TV,
in fact, this does bring a good reminder. If you're not connected with us on Facebook, go ahead and make that connection, because we do often have giveaways that are exclusive to our Facebook audience. And I know you wanted to say thank you, because we've just seen some numbers explode.
Folks, when I started this company 14 years ago, we got on Facebook, and I think we had maybe 100.
And that was a big deal. We hit 100.
Yeah, we hit 100. Well, we hit 100,000. 100,000 likes and follows.
So a combination of those two have gotten us to that
it's
number.
Crazy. It is absolutely crazy. And we appreciate all you all. And that's the reason why we run these promotions on Facebook and nowhere else. So keep an eye on Facebook, like us on one of our posts, and we'll invite you to follow us. And you'll just see the value that we put on there. For example, Brian, there's one video I did standing in the back warehouse with all the bees, and it was like 3 a.m. I had bags underneath my eyes. And
I think I saw some comments.
Yeah, there were some comments that,
that
Ray, go home and get some sleep.
Yeah.
We don't get sleep during those.
Hey, you know what?
weeks.
If my bees have been delayed for 3 weeks, no sleep for Ray. I want my bees. So thank you for making it happen.
So anyhow, Facebook is a great tool for us, and we'd love to communicate with you all. And we love the comments, and you get us laughing too on some of the comments that we get there.
Can I go ahead and announce the winner? We just did a drawing a moment ago, and the winner is Kathy and Mike Risner. Kathy and Mike Risner will be reaching out to you. Or actually, probably the best thing to do is to reach out to Nikki tomorrow.
Well, no, Nikki is gone for the graduation. She's not going to be back, but she will reach out to you Thursday of next week.
All right. I'll send Nikki an email with your name, Kathy and Mike. So she will reach out to you and make arrangements. Now, this is for the 2026 season.
Yes.
So just to clarify, the freebies that we're going to give away over the summer.
We got on a rabbit trail here again. I'm good at that tonight, is getting off on rabbit trails. The 27th of June, folks, this is where you save the money. Go to the grocery store, your grocery bill is always going up. Not with Mountain Sweet Honey. If you get in here on June the 27th and you automatically save somewhere around $40 to $45 per package by ordering on this 1-day sale. We open the sale up at 6 a.m. And Brian, we give away various things like the biggest order. We'll give a hive away. And
I think you've even done the honey containers, the extractors. That was the word I was looking for. So it's more than just free bees. It's beekeeping supplies as well.
Yeah. And so this is the time to buy, folks. If you like deals, this is the deal. And what we do is we allow you to place your order, and what you're doing is you're kind of adding a protection if you lose bees during the winter months. And I think, Brian, this year, with what I'm hearing, it's going to be somewhere around 45 to 55% loss going through the winter.
Tough year.
Yeah, very tough year. So if you get through the winter and you don't need the bees, you can cancel free of charge up to February the 1st. And so you can get 100% of your money back up to February the 1st. And then there's just a small charge if you decide to cancel after February 1st. So again, June the 27th, we go on the air right where you're watching us right now. Facebook, on the website, on our website, mountainsweethoney.com, and also on YouTube. Am I correct, Brian?
You hit it.
All right, good. All right. So we look forward to seeing everybody there. We will try to be back before our big sale. And we sell a lot of bees on this 1-day sale. So don't forget it, folks. I appreciate everybody tuning in tonight. It's been fun. We try to keep this to an hour, and we're a little bit over. So, Brian, any closing comments?
Just excited about the Women in Beekeeping series that Nikki's going to begin right here on Buzz TV. So we may be back in a couple of weeks with our first installment of Women in Beekeeping.
Thanks again, folks, and have a great week and weeks coming on up. Remember, honey season is not far away right now, regardless of where you live. See you soon.
Bye.